Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Ironbark Podcast, and I am your host, Donald Epion. We got a lot of news to cover this week. Big news, exciting news. Ask anybody who knows about news. They'll tell you, that guy knows. He knows all about the news. Anyway, folks, today we're going to talk about the endangered Mexican wolf. A little story going on with that. We're going to talk about a guy getting a heavy fine for hunting a pronghorn, and I'll give you a little side story about some pronghorns I saw this week. And then wildlife officials issue warning to pet owners after a massive goldfish is discovered in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania. I want to suck your blood. All right, so the endangered Mexican wolf tracked roaming north of Interstate 40. So what do we got here? So this comes out of MSN.com. It's a story by Audrey Claire Davis. A female Mexican wolf has been tracked roaming north of Interstate 40 outside of the experimental population area, according to officials from the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish. It's approximately 20 miles north of I-40 near Mount Taylor. So basically, Mexican wolves, they're on the endangered species list. I think there's only, I want to say like a little bit more than 200 of them. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're kind of like a subspecies of gray wolf. They're reintroducing them, but I think over like the past decade, they've been showing signs of like increased numbers, so they've been doing really well. But I'm just going to read you a couple things from this article. So, because Mexican gray wolves are listed and protected as federally endangered under the Endangered Species Act, landowners and members of the public cannot harm, trap, or kill them unless a wolf actively poses a threat to human safety. Violating the ESA can result in a civil penalty up to $25,000 or a criminal penalty of up to $50,000 and 1 year in prison. If you see a Mexican wolf, leave it alone and contact Department of Game and Fish. Interesting. Okay, so if you see it, don't fucking kill it because you'll go to jail and heavy ass fucking fines. Like, those are fucking heavy. That's a lot of money. Let's see. Female wolf 2996 was captured in January as part of an annual aerial count and capture operations. During efforts to release her, F2996 managed to escape her crate and self-release west of Show Low, Arizona. Since then, F2996 has made large dispersal movements across Arizona and New Mexico. She is currently approximately 20 miles north of I-40 and continues to make large movements. We are monitoring her movements to see if she returns to her pack. There are no plans to capture her at this time. So that's some interesting stuff. They were nearly hunted to extinction in the 1970s due to conflict with livestock. But then, they saw some captive breeding and reintroductions, and efforts have been ongoing. So it's a cool little thing. So if you see this wolf, don't shoot it because, one, it's endangered. We want to see it be successful and reunite with its pack. And also, you don't want a heavy ass fine. That's kind of like a public service announcement to everyone, or face criminal punishment of 1 year in prison. Moving on to the next article. It's a very great article. This one also comes out of MSN by Noah Jampol. Man hit with stiff penalty for hunting one of the fastest animals in North America. We have zero tolerance. So, side note, I saw tons of these animals this past week. I didn't get any footage whatsoever. I may have posted a photo, but I saw massive herds of pronghorns, all types. Really amazing. And it's super cool. So I saw these in the Alberta Badlands, And the Alberta Badlands are cool because that's where they find all the dinosaur bones and all that stuff. It's kind of connected. Like the culture there is deeply entrenched with like dinosaurs in the ancient world. These things are from, the last ice age. They outran extinction. They outlived the American cheetah. Nothing else is as fast as them. Nothing can catch them. They're the second fastest land mammal in the world. But technically they can hold top speeds for longer than a cheetah can hold its top speed for. So it's kind of like fast in another way. But anyway, back to this article. A California man is paying the price for illegally poaching North America's fastest land mammal, the pronghorn. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife reported, let's see here. So this guy received a $3,000 fine, 1 year probation with no hunting, forfeiture of the animal's meat, and a mandatory hunter education course. Now, see, that almost kind of pales in comparison to what we heard the other fine being like $25,000. Yeah, I don't know, straightforward. Let's see what they said about it. We have zero tolerance for poaching and those who cheat the system and undermine the opportunities Californians have to legally hunt pronghorn and antelope in the state. Yeah, it's not fair to the other hunters, right? You can't be going out of season or out of off time or whatever. Pronghorn hunting is closely guarded in California to help conserve the species. Yep, makes sense. There's a lot of them, though. There's a fucking lot of them. A lot of them do die to like roadway accidents, so that's the other part, though. The news of pronghorns viability in the U.S. is mixed. Conservationists at Yellowstone celebrated the resurgence in the animals herd in the park in October. On the flip side, 150 of these animals were killed in just a few days following month due to collisions on snowy roads in Colorado. 150 in just a few days. So these things do like get onto the road, and sometimes they're in like massive herds, and people just like they don't hit the brakes. Like they're all gas, no brakes on these things. So obviously, it almost seems like their biggest threat is vehicles. Slow down, folks, especially at night. I don't care what the speed limit says. Like that's the maximum. Reduce speed. Put your lights on. If you have really good lights, throw them up. Then you'll be able to see the pronghorns off to the side of the highway. You'll be able to guesstimate if they're making a mad dash towards your vehicle or not. And they're big ass herds. And don't only do it for the animal. Do it for yourself. The damage to your vehicle is going to be costly. You'll potentially be harmed. The people in the car that you care and love about will potentially be harmed. It's not just a pro animal thing. It's a pro your property thing. It's a pro your family, your loved ones, your safety, your health, all that stuff. Who knows how these insurance companies will treat you when it comes to health care and it comes to repairing your vehicle. Public service announcement, slow down. What's good for them is good for you. It's good for all of us. Okay, the next article is wildlife officials issue warning to pet owners after massive goldfish discovered in Pennsylvania. This comes out of dailymail.co.uk. Crazy how like the UK has like an article about the States. This is by Kelly Garino from dailymail.com. Oh, I guess maybe it originally came from Daily Mail and they're just like copy and pasting an article from another website. That's weird. Anyway, I guess that's almost sort of like what I do with the podcast. Wildlife officials in Pennsylvania. That's a boring part to start reading. I'm not even going to read this. This is nonsense. They pulled out a giant ass fucking goldfish. And what happens with goldfish is they basically grow to their environment a lot of the time. And so when people flush them down the toilet or release them into the waterways or the ponds and rivers and stuff because they can't take care of them anymore and they just grow tired of them, they don't want to kill them or harm them, and maybe they have a hard time finding a new home for them, so they just let them go in the river. Now, sometimes they'll die. They'll get picked off by other fish. But other times, they are very successful. They're hardy. They're basically carp. They're essentially carp. And then they'll outcompete other species and all that kind of stuff. And then you have a giant, massive invasive species problem outcompeting the native species in the area. And then maybe those will even go extinct because of how successful of like a species they are. Problematic. So that's the public service announcement. Don't flush your goldfish, folks. And there's tons of pictures on here. showing these fish and tons of fishermen. I feel like a lot of fishing contests should just be centered around pulling out invasive species. Whoever pulls the most and whoever, gets the biggest one. You can have all different kinds, heaviest one, yada, yada, yada. Make that the contest instead of like going for like native species that might be at risk or something. It's like just focus purely on pulling out these invasive ones, and then everyone kind of balances out. Everyone wins. Okay, let's see. I should talk about some of the things I saw. I saw like big snow geese migrations, massive ones. It might have been the coolest thing I've ever seen. It looked like silver ribbons kind of like waving through the sky like a giant like Chinese dragon or something. And there's just so many of them. There's like thousands of them. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And the way the sun was rising, it was just hitting their wings and stuff on the perfect angle to make their white feathers look like silver. It was one of those moments in life where it's just for you. I didn't document it. I just watched it, took it in. I was like, this is beautiful. It was very meaningful to me, and it was kind of cool. And I hope if you ever get to see that kind of stuff, you get to enjoy it as well. I also saw many pronghorns. Very cool to see pronghorns. I've talked about them many a times on the podcast because I find them fascinating. They're basically Canadian giraffes. Their closest relative is the giraffe. Let's see. We can go to what I posted on X this week. I took a photo. This was in Jasper National Park, and it suffered like massive wildfires last summer. So I posted a picture, and I know this area got hit by fire damage, and it was kind of just a reflection thing to be like, you couldn't take this picture today. It wouldn't look the same. And for the next generation of people, probably like the next 100 years, they won't experience it the same way as I did. We had the 26th was Manatee Appreciation Day. A couple cool things about manatees I mentioned here. So the order name is Sirenia. So that kind of comes from the Greek mythology of sirens. These animals were believed to be the inspiration for mermaids. I don't know about that, but okay, that's what people say. A yearly reminder that manatees remain endangered and could possibly go extinct someday. For example, the Steller sea cow went extinct in 1768 due to hunting by humans, which becomes even more depressing when you realize they were overly hunted and easily hunted due to being generally friendly and curious towards humans, often approaching boats or docks. They just wanted to be friends, and we were like, no, you, my unfortunate friend, are actually food. So, yeah, I don't know. Steller sea cow's gone, but we still have manatees. One last cool fact. They're most closely related to elephants, and strangely enough, also hyraxes. Hyraxes are they're kind of like rodent-like. I think they're sort of rabbit-like in a way. But they're like kind of like small, tiny deer. I guess manatees and elephants and hyraxes all evolved from a common hoofed ancestor from a group of mammals known as Tetratheria 50 million years ago. Long ass time ago. Walruses are not closely related despite the similar friend shape. Appreciate these guys. I hope you do too. Very interesting. Very interesting. I posted a picture of a werewolf from Croc AI versus fighting a Sasquatch. I just commented, but y'all ain't ready for that conversation. And there's the pronghorn picture. Cheeky little herd of pronghorns. And that brings us back to next week. Or last week's podcast. I think that's a wrap, folks. I think that's just a shorty this week. This is just a little short McGort. Little shorty McDoherty McDooley McTalkenheimer. Oh, yeah. Anyway, it's been a blast, folks. I hope you enjoyed this week's Potter. Mr. Potter, you dare use my own magic against me?